Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you a discussion video today to talk about something that I think is a pretty interesting topic and something that I do see in the comment section of my videos from time to time, and that is whether or not brands copy each other, whether it be Nike copying Adidas, Adidas copying Nike, Puma copying whatever brand, it doesn't matter. Do brands copy each other? That's kind of what I want to talk about in today's video. I'm going to share my opinions because I think there are certain situations where brands do copy each other, and there are certain situations that a lot of people claim brands are copying, but I don't necessarily think that's the case, and that's kind of what I'm going to discuss in today's video. Listen to what I have to say. If you have any questions, leave them down below, and if you have anything of your own to add as far as thoughts go, leave those down below in the comments as well, and we'll get a bit of a discussion going down there. So without further ado, let's talk about whether or not brands copy each other. Now keep in mind that when I talk about one brand copying another or how brands are copying each other in general, I'm talking specifically about the soccer cleat / football boot market and the soccer market in general, not necessarily other divisions of big brands like Nike and Adidas, because obviously it's going to be a little bit different depending on what specific department of that brand we're talking about. But if we're talking soccer specific, the argument that you could make in regards to brands copying each other, in that yes, they do copy each other, is not so much really big brands, but obviously smaller brands. You guys probably saw my video on the Kappa Rattler. If you haven't, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen. It's a video a lot of you guys enjoyed, but basically it's Kappa's interpretation of a Nike Magista Obra. It's pretty much a blatant ripoff, a blatant copy, and that is kind of one of those situations where, yes, you do see some smaller brands blatantly ripping off or blatantly copying what some of the bigger brands are doing, not necessarily with the quality of their product, but more so with the look of the product. Because again, if you compare a Kappa Rattler to a Magista Obra, the difference is pretty significant, I can assure you of that. Other than that, it's really difficult to say that brands are directly copying each other. What you have to consider is that there's only so much variety when it comes to a soccer cleat. You're going to have similarities from model to model within the same brand. You're going to have similarities from model to model from one brand to another. It's just how things go. Brands are competing against each other at the end of the day, and when you have competition and you have multiple lines, brands have to have models that compete with the other lines and other models from the other brands, if that makes any sense. So really, the only argument that I can logically think of when you talk about Nike and Adidas and Puma and really big brands copying each other is it really depends on what the current trend is. Right now, the current trend is mid-cut shoes and knitted uppers, and Nike was more or less first to market with a general release shoe in the form of something that was mid-cut and something that was knitted. We had the Magista Obra and the Superfly 4 as general release models that everybody could get their hands on. Yes, Adidas had some prime knit releases at the time of the Magista Obra release, but they were all limited edition things and not necessarily something that everybody could buy. So like I said, that's kind of something that started a trend. Obviously, that is very popular right now, and it remains to be popular until further notice. And then since then, of course, Adidas now has prime knit models that are readily available. They're obviously playing with their cuts as well. Puma recently introduced the Evo Touch model that has a knitted aspect to it and also has kind of an interesting cut at the heel and ankle area. And the reason why they're doing this is not necessarily to copy Nike, but it's to cater to what the majority of people are interested in right now. They have to make a product that appeals to what people want to buy. If you're a company selling a product, you want your product to be what people want. So if what people want is a knitted upper and a mid-cut design, you kind of have to make a product that fills that criteria. It's not necessarily a direct copy of what another brand is doing. It's just kind of moving with the trends. It's really a situation where technology or new materials that we didn't necessarily see before in soccer cleats was introduced to market, and every brand has their own interpretation of that same technology. Again, I guess you could argue that certain brands are copying each other to a certain extent. Nike started a trend and then everybody followed, but again, you can't really blame the other brands. I don't think anybody looks at a Pure Control and a Magista Obra and says, oh my gosh, Nike copied Adidas or Adidas copied Nike. They're two entirely different things that happen to use somewhat similar technologies or somewhat similar I guess, ideas, but the product, the end product at the end of the day, is two very, very different shoes. So that's really the only argument that you could make for copying when one brand makes another shoe that is similar to another, is that they're trying to make something to compete against that product. And if you're going to compete against something, you have to have something that is somewhat similar, if that makes any sense. I think it does. I think you guys kind of understand what I'm getting at. But other than that, you don't necessarily see direct responses immediately from these companies when it comes to something that is very, very popular. These shoes are generally in production and kind of in development years in advance of the actual release. So if two things come out that happen to be somewhat similar, I would say it's more coincidence as opposed to, again, a blatant copy, a blatant ripoff, because that's, again, not something that you really see going from one brand to another. The brands are just following the trends, and you can't really blame them for that. They have to make a product that's going to be as popular and as, I guess, is going to sell as well as it possibly could, and that's the best way to do it. One last aspect of this topic that I wanted to talk about is colorways, because that is the main thing that I see in the comment section of my videos, where somebody claims that Adidas copied Nike or Puma copied Adidas or whatever brand copied who. It's generally in regards to colorways. And unfortunately, guys, nobody really has ownership of specific colors or specific color combinations. When you have as many releases as we have now, and given the history of how many different colorways of soccer cleats that we've had up until this point, certain colorways are going to repeat, certain colorways are going to look like other colorways, and certain colorways might look very similar on the same release date from different brands. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean that anybody's copying each other. They just happen to have similar colors at that particular moment in time. And again, this kind of brings me back to what's popular. What's popular right now tends to be the brighter, more flashy colors. So you're seeing a lot of Volt Yellow from Nike. You're seeing a lot of metallics and prints from Adidas right now. And that is something that I don't necessarily see slowing down anytime soon. Bright colors and specific color combinations generally tend to look good. That's why you always see a lot of black and neon yellow as a color combination. And regardless of what brand uses that color combo most, it doesn't mean that if another brand uses that color combo that they're copying another brand. It's just a matter of colors will repeat themselves, certain color combinations look better than others, and brands are more or less guessing in terms of what colorways they think are going to sell the best and what colorways people want. Obviously, they're trying to make something unique and never been done before, but that's not necessarily something that can happen with every single new release, be it a new model or a new colorway. So just keep that in mind, because again, I don't know why people get all frustrated when they see a colorway that looks somewhat similar to a colorway that we've seen in the past. That's just going to happen. Again, not everything can be 100% never been done before. All right, guys, so that is pretty much it in terms of what I have to say on this particular topic. Other brands are going to copy other brands, not necessarily for the sake of just blatantly ripping them off. Again, that does happen with generally the smaller companies, but brands will copy other brands for the sake of sales and demand. If knitted mid-cut shoes are what people want right now, companies are going to produce knitted mid-cut shoes. That's just how it goes. It's not necessarily a case of copying somebody. It's just making a product that the majority of people are looking for. And that's not necessarily something you can blame any company for doing. If you're a company trying to make money, you want to make a product that people want, and that's good for everybody, in all honesty. So we're in really the golden age of soccer cleats right now. There's so much variety from all kinds of different brands. There's so much to pick from. And again, I think brands competing against each other when it comes to knitted mid-cut shoes, as new as that technology is, because they are all competing within the same kind of space, it only means that it's going to push these brands further and further to create kind of the next best thing, the next best evolution of this particular technology, or something all new entirely. So again, competition is good. Copying isn't necessarily a bad thing. And again, I don't necessarily think that these brands are copying for the sake of copying. They're all trying to produce their own unique product, regardless of what technologies happen to be somewhat similar. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. If you have any questions regarding anything that I said, leave them down below and I definitely will get an answer out to you. And if you have anything to add, on this particular topic, leave that down below in the comments as well. If you guys enjoy these discussion videos, want to see them continue happening on the channel, be sure to support this video with a like. And if you do have any suggestions on topics you'd like to hear me talk about, leave those down below in the comments as well, and I'll take a look at what you guys have to say. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.